Oklahoma went on the road to arguably the toughest home field advantage in the SEC. Started a true freshman quarterback making his very first collegiate start. Played without its top 5 wide receivers. Trailed by 2 scores in the fourth quarter. And get this, the Sooners won the game. How do you explain that? Tulsa World columnist Berry Tramel says it has to be Sooner magic. I tend to believe having a quarterback who didn't give the ball to the other team might have had something to do with it. But we'll discuss all that from the Auburn game and more as the Sooners head into their first bye week now on the Jenni Carlson Show. But before we get to that, I want to say a big thank you to Visit Stillwater for sponsoring my college football coverage this season. Check out visitstillwater.org for all sorts of information, including direct flights to Stillwater. Then I want to encourage you to subscribe. First to my YouTube channel. All you got to do is click that subscribe button. It helps me, but it's free for you. So please subscribe today. Then I hope you'll subscribe to my website, Beyond the Box Score. It's free, or if you'd like to support my work, you can do so for $8 a month. I hope you consider subscribing no matter what level at jennicarlson.substack.com. Well, Barry, you got to see the Sooners' first SEC road game. You got to see a big come-from-behind victory, 27-21 over Auburn. And your conclusion was Sooner magic. Really?
Well, it sort of was. This is a game OU had no business winning. You know, Bill Connolly of ESPN has all these mathematical equations for figuring out football and stuff. And sometimes he goes after games and looks at the statistics and says, these are the statistics. What's a team's chances of winning? He gave Auburn a 75.3% chance of winning a game like that. If you watch the game, you never thought OU was going to win until all of a sudden it flipped in the middle of the fourth quarter. And this is, everybody in the meet, I get home and everybody said, did you have to rewrite your story? And I said, well, I wasn't on a stiff deadline, so I didn't start writing it. But mentally I did. I had all kinds of things in my mind and never entered my mind that OU might win this game. And then all of a sudden, 60-yard bomb, a pick six, game's over, OU's ahead. So I thought it was a great win for the Sooners, just pulling the rabbit out of the hat like that in such a tough environment. Left the Auburn fans pretty stunned, but just what Oklahoma needed and gave them hope that, hey, things are going to get better and this thing could turn around.
Yeah, Auburn never really put them away. So I think that was and credit to the Oklahoma defense for not letting Auburn, get crazy and do some things that might have made it too far out of hand to come back. But obviously it was an unlikely come from behind victory just because of what we'd seen the first 3+ quarters. But all eyes were on Michael Hawkins, Barry, obviously, as you mentioned, heading into a very tough environment. And going 10 for 15 for 161 passing yards, had 69 rushing yards, had obviously that huge cross-country run for a touchdown, 48 yards, and then the 60-yard bomb pass that you just mentioned to J.J. Hester. But the thing I liked best on his stat line, 0 turnovers, Barry. No turnovers for the true freshman in a really tough situation. What impressed you most about Michael Hawkins?
Well, that's it. He didn't make the mistakes that would get his team beat. They were playing a team that's actually, Auburn's pretty good if they'll just protect the ball, but they haven't protected the ball this season. And Saturday, they protected the ball. No turnovers through 3 quarters. They're dominating. They're up 21-10. And, it had missed a short field goal, had been stopped at the 1-yard line on 4th down. So this was close to a rout. So Auburn was dominating. And then one pass by the Sooners, and then finally, the big turnover. It didn't come from the true freshman making his starting debut in an SEC snake pit. It came from a 5th-year senior. I think Peyton Thorne's a 5th-year senior. Anyway, it came from a veteran of the Big Ten, a veteran of the SEC, a guy who's quarterbacked 1 million games. He'd played a wonderful game. He hadn't thrown it to the other team. And then he threw it to Kip Lewis. And the game not only turned, the game was decided. And that's just the way football is. Chris Collinsworth talked about it last night on Sunday Night Football. turnovers are just so important anymore in football. Teams are better, teams are more even, and a turnover is a massive flip of the game. We saw what it did to the Sooners against Tennessee. We saw what it did to Auburn against the Sooners. So that was it. You're right. Michael Hawkins took care of the ball. I think there was one pass, if I remember right, could have been intercepted or potential, but he didn't fumble. He just, played a good floor game. He had a couple of big plays. He wasn't spectacular otherwise. I mean, he wasn't terribly efficient. He didn't stay in the pocket long enough, I don't think. I think he was too quick to scat around and run around. But he'll learn and he'll get better, and so far he's not losing the ball, and that'll get you way down the road with football coaches. For
sure. We'll talk more about Kip Lewis and that interception in just a second, but I think people are having some flashbacks with Michael Hawkins, Barry. He cartwheeled into the end zone again at Auburn. He did it in that game against Tennessee. I know when he did it against Tennessee, I thought, ooh, Sam Bradford from Bedlam back in the day. And then he did it again. He's going to start getting compared with, hey, listen, I don't think Sam Bradford wanted to cartwheel and back in the day. I don't think Michael Hawkins minds a little contact when he's out there running.
Michael Hawkins looked a little choreographed. Looked like, hey, I can do this, so I'm going to. Sam Bradford was minding his own business in Stillwater and all of a sudden found himself upside down. That was not his intent then, or it would not be his intent now. But it was sort of cool that, all of a sudden Michael Hawkins has a signature play. That helps people win the Heisman. Won't help him this year win the Heisman, but who knows about future. But no, that was a really cool play, and it's a big play. I mean, the Sooners go up 22-21.
Yep.
That's the difference in, a field goal tying to go to overtime or a field goal winning the game, and that's massive. So a huge play, and when it came on the heels of the pick six that left everybody stunned, I think it just added insult to the injury of Auburn and really put the Tigers in a hole. And the Sooners just sort of dominated those last 8-10 minutes. So, yeah, it was a cool play. Showed off his athletic ability, which we saw it much of the day, most of it running for his life, but at that point, not running for his life, but running for pay dirt.
Yeah, obviously, things about Michael Hawkins' performance that I'm sure we can nitpick and, like you say, fled the pocket probably too quickly, multiple occasions. If you've got an offensive line that's not great, I understand it. He'll have to be better moving forward in a lot of ways, but for a first start and it being on the road, I think it's a good starting point. And you know what? The same things we said about Jackson Arnold before the season. First-time starter, he's going to have ups and downs. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to look great one minute, not great the next. It's going to apply to Michael Hawkins, too. He's going to have good stretches followed by bad stretches. That's what happens with young quarterbacks, and it definitely happens in the SEC. But I do think first time around, you have to give him really high marks for what he did and did not do at Auburn, mainly not turning the ball over. Can we talk about the OU defense next? Because, as you mentioned, not the greatest offense that Oklahoma's going to face in the SEC. Gave up 482 yards. Not fantastic in the total offense department, but Kip Lewis. Again, shades of Sooner seasons past. Remember when Torrance Marshall picked off that pass at Texas A&M in the 2000 national championship season, sort of took victory from the jaws of defeat for the Sooners. Felt like the same thing for Kip Lewis. Now, Barry, no national championships this year, but still a huge moment for Kip Lewis and that defense.
Yeah, and, just similar plays, right? I mean, just sort of got in front of a slant or probably shouldn't have been thrown. But, and Kip Lewis had been playing really well, but he's not really a star of the defense. He's, I'm guessing he plays 2/3 of the plays on defense. He's not necessarily an every down player, but a guy that's really played well and has really made a name for himself and doing well. And all of a sudden he's in position to make a play and makes one. And, Peyton Thorne just played so well. But our Mason Thomas, who's becoming Mr. Fourth Quarter, He gets a good rush on, and this was a 3rd and 3. And our Mason, after the game, I talked to him. I said, why you been so good in the fourth quarter? And he says, hey, when we know what they're going to do we know where they're going to pass, I can pin my ears back. Here I go. That's my advantage. But 3rd and 3, I think they're on the 40-yard line, or the OU 40 or the 42. I can't remember. Anyway, 3rd and 3, you don't know they're going to pass. In fact, they shouldn't have passed. They should have ran the ball. And our Mason still gets a good rush. He's barreling in on Peyton Thorne, gets his hands up, apparently does not tip the ball. All he had to say was that he did tip it, and everybody would have went with it because we thought he did. But that pressure from Mayor Mason Thomas forces Peyton Thorne to throw it when he didn't want to, where he didn't want to. Kip Lewis is there, takes it to the house. Coleman, Auburn's speedy wide receiver, looked like he was going to catch him. Did catch him, but it was too late in the end zone. So, yeah, a play that'll live forever, at least the rest of my lifetime. I won't forget it. Maybe in 50 years, people will forget it. A lot of people don't remember Randy Hughes' interception return against Colorado in the 70s. So I don't know why they'd remember Kip Lewis' interception in the next 70s. But it's a great play. It's a great play. And considering the circumstances, OU's discouraging performance against Tennessee, the daunting road ahead, the historical significance, first SEC road game, this was a huge play that propelled Oklahoma to victory. I told people, I said, you know what, Kip Lewis, he's always going to have Auburn. So he'll be a made man in Norman, Oklahoma for decades to come.
Yeah, and Oklahoma will always have the Kip Lewis interception too. So it's a two-way street there. Yeah, and especially when you look at this SEC schedule, this was a winnable game, even though it was the first road game, even though they took a true freshman quarterback in there. Auburn not having a great year, a mess on offense with their quarterback situation. This was a game Oklahoma had to feel like they could win. And so to have one, I think, was pretty important. But the overall picture on this defense, Barry, while obviously Kip Lewis, R. Mason Thomas closing, I've never heard of a closer defensive end, but that's what he's becoming. I don't know how that happens, but this defense faced 75 plays while the OU offense only had 47. So time of possession tilted in favor of Auburn by almost 11 minutes. And still that defense comes up big at the end. Was kind of that no give up, no give in. Was that maybe one of the bigger takeaways from this game?
Yeah, the OU defense, it was a stiffer test than what most people thought. Auburn, coming into that game, Auburn led the SEC in big plays. It's a big play offense. They got a bunch of speedy wide receivers. Hugh Freeze runs a wide open offense. They do all kinds of things. They actually like Peyton Thorne as a quarterback if he just quit throwing the ball to the other team.
Clearly.
They have options. They have weapons. They have options. And, they were clicking. Auburn had 26 first down. Think about that. OU ran, you said 47 plays?
Yep, 75 to 47.
OU runs 47 plays. Auburn had 26 first downs.
Ooh.
Plus, Auburn had all those big plays. Auburn had 5 pass plays where they threw deep 6 times, 20 yards or more downfield. They completed 5 of them, wow, which is unbelievable efficiency. Only one of them was like an intermediate 20-yarder. One was over 30, and I think 3 over 40. So they were hurting OU with the deep ball, and the Sooners hung in there and somehow held them to 21 points. And that, to me, that was a red-letter day for the OU defense, to hold that offense to 21 points when you clearly didn't have your A game. Yeah. And you clearly weren't playing that great. You're getting beat deep. The corners were getting beat deep. The Auburn running game was working pretty good, but OU stood tall. Couple of red zone stands, a goal line stand in the first quarter. Held Auburn to a short field goal try at the end of the second quarter. He missed it. So I thought it was a very tough test. Not a great day for that defense, but man, they stood in there and kept Auburn from getting too far ahead, and gave the Sooners a chance to win it. I was going to say give the offense a chance to win it, but then the defense took matters into its own hand. Right. So, that That was just a heck of a performance because that Auburn offense is underrated if they just take care of the ball.
Well, and think about it this way too, Barry. Gave up 21 points to the OU defense, but they also scored 7. So they were essentially, gave up 14 at the end of the day, so that gives your offense a chance. If you're only sort of in the plus minus, you're minus 14 and what Auburn, potentially explosive offense can do, that's got to make you feel pretty good. So heading into this off week, Sooners do have to feel pretty good about things, but with the off week, I have to think job number 1 is figuring out how to get some of these wide receivers healthy. Barry, that was one of the things in talking about Michael Hawkins. He doesn't have his top 5 wide receivers available to him. I mean, just an unbelievable rash of injuries that the Sooners are facing at that position. Is that job number 1 in this off week, or is there something else that's at the top of the Sooners list?
Well, I think that's number 1. I'm like everybody else. I want Seth Luttrell to do better coordinating that OU offense. But I really don't know what Seth can do. If you run out of wide receivers, one thing you can do is go more power and play more tight ends and stuff. And that's what he did. They ran a bunch of multiple tight end sets. But their tight ends aren't very good. This is not, this is not vintage.
Trent Smith or John Finley even.
Yeah, or Mark Andrews or, back in the day, Sooners often had, you once had an all Big 8 tight end got beat out by Wayne Hoffman the next year. So Albert Chandler and Wayne Hoffman, that whole crew, they've always had good tight ends, and they just don't right now. So unless you go to the wishbone, play 3 running backs, but even Tatum is hurt, so I don't know what to do there. But get those wide receivers healthy, because we said coming into the season, right? It's the best part of the OU offense. It's like in Happy Days when Fonzie fixed the car of Richie and Potsy, but he took the cool eagle hood ornament off as retribution for his pay. And Potsy looks at Richie and said he took the best part of the car. Well, they've taken the best part of the OU offense. So, that it's not a great offense to start with. But if they could get a couple of those guys back, especially Deion Burks, look at how valuable Deion Burks was in the first 4 games. Yeah. I mean, he's a major part of the offense. The offense, in a lot of ways, went through him. Mm-hmm. If he's not out there, they're really lost. Yeah. So if they could get Burks back in the slot, if they could get whoever, I don't even know who could come back. I don't know. Doesn't look great for Anderson. Doesn't look great for Anthony. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be Farouk. It's not Gibson. Right now, I think OU would just take Burks.
Right.
But Hester came through with a big catch. I mean, he didn't do anything except run down the field, and Hawkins laid it in his breadbasket, but he caught it.
Mm-hmm.
So he got behind the guy. So, yeah, that's right now, just Burks would be a really nice addition going into the Cotton Bowl.
Well, let's talk about Texas for a second, because that is the game that looms. Obviously, Texas playing fantastically. Not the number 1 team in the country anymore because of what Alabama did to Georgia, but still a very, very good Longhorn team. And obviously this will be a challenge that exceeds what Auburn threw at Oklahoma this past weekend. So if you're Oklahoma, what worries you most about the Longhorns?
Oh, they're just well-rounded for one thing. I mean, they're really good on offense, really good on defense. It looks like Steve Sarkisian has a powerhouse. I think the OU defense is going to be able to hold up. I don't think Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning's going to light up the Sooners. But after watching the OU offense, this year, either whether it's Jackson Arnold or Michael Hawkins, you wonder how they'll be able to score much. Michigan proved that it could run the ball pretty dang well. They didn't really do much on Texas. So, the Horns are otherwise unproven other than the Wolverines. So, they got to figure out how to move the ball. And that's clearly, I think, going to have to be with Michael Hawkins and his feet, with some timely passes. Try to keep this game, shorten the game, condense it, try to win this game 23-20, 2017, something like that. Not a great plan, but you know what? Texas has upset the Sooners and scared the Sooners quite a bit when they were big underdogs.
Yeah.
And it's time for OU to do the same. Can't remember. It actually happened last year. OU was really good. I mean, that was a 10-win team, so it shouldn't have been a one-sided affair. But we've seen Texas in the last 30, 40 years do this a lot to Oklahoma. It's time for Oklahoma to do it to Texas. Try to turn the talent a little bit sideways and win in the end.
Yeah, you talk about Texas moving things. I think the bigger question will be, can Oklahoma move some of these Texas linemen? I mean, I think the biggest difference that Steve Sarkisian has brought to Texas is, I think he calls them big humans. He's gotten a lot of big humans in Austin. They, they paid special attention to what they did with NIL, with offensive linemen. And Berry, I know, like you say, Michigan is the one test. They look like a team that for years we talked about how Texas wasn't physical in this game against Oklahoma. Now they're bludgeoning people. They are punishing people with their big humans. So I think that's going to be a real question mark. Can the Oklahoma lines of scrimmage, which has been an ongoing theme, can they move the horns to do enough damage offensively, defensively? I don't know. I think to me, that's the big question. It's not the sexy question. People are going to want to talk about Michael Hawkins, Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning, skill positions, Stutzman, linebacker, whatever. But to me, it comes down to line of scrimmage and what Oklahoma can do on the line of scrimmage against Texas. Okay, no predictions this week because of the bye week, but here's a curveball for you. After what you saw at Auburn, what's your best guess on the season record? I mean, Texas, obviously, then South Carolina, Maine, Alabama at home, at Ole Miss, at Missouri, at LSU. Where do you think the Sooners land when all is said and done?
Well, I mean, the Sooners are not as good as we thought they were. I thought they were going to be a pretty good football team, really good on defense, and I thought the offense would not be necessarily Kyler Murray standard, but be really good. It's not. But I was more encouraged after Saturday. I think the Sooners can get to 7-5. I think a 7-5 finish right now would be really good, considering where this team was coming out of Houston, coming out of Tennessee. We'll see if they can get there. At halftime of the Auburn game, I was wondering if OU could get bowl eligible. Maybe scratch their way to 6 wins, get to the Liberty Bowl, play Bedlam or something. But now I think they can get to 7. Won't be easy. South Carolina will be difficult, but some of the rest of the schedule looks a little bit. I mean, Ole Miss is not as good as we thought. We saw that Saturday. Missouri's not as good as we thought. Still won't be easy to win in Oxford or Columbia, but those are winnable games. South Carolina, same way. And then, of course, you got the Black Bears of Maine. So I think the Sooners, if they can get to 7-5, I think you have to sort of, raise your hat to Brent Venables and say, hey, better like next year, but at least you got this far.
Yeah, I tend to think that Oklahoma goes to LSU at the end of the regular season with a chance to win 8 games. I don't think they get to 8, but I think 7 is possible because of what you said, Barry. I mean, we look at this schedule and some of the games we thought would be difficult maybe aren't as difficult. But, like Alabama and Norman, I think when the season started, I thought maybe that's a toss-up. After what we saw this last weekend with Bama, I don't think that's a toss-up anymore. I got that solidly for the Crimson Tide. But I still think get to 7-5, very doable. Got to go play well. Got to go probably to Missouri or Ole Miss and win. But, it seems like that's a possibility right now for Oklahoma. So we'll see. Hey, before we let you get out of here, Barry, anything coming up on OU in the Tulsa World, tulsaworld.com you want to let people know about?
Yeah, over the weekend, I've got an interesting theory about a certain quarterback who no longer is playing, Jackson Arnold. I got a new twist, I think, on Jackson Arnold. So I think people would enjoy that. I think that'll probably be out on Sunday.
All right, very good. Thanks, PT.
You bet.
That's all the time we have for now, but please subscribe to my YouTube channel and my website, Beyond the Box Score. It's easy and it's free, but if you want to support my work, you can do so for $8 a month at jennicarlson.substack.com. Also, you can find this episode and all episodes of The Jenni Carlson Show on your favorite podcast app. If you like what you hear, please leave a review. A quick word of thanks to my video dream team, Jacqueline Musgrove and Michael Lane. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.